Imagine walking up to the grand doors of a mansion you once scrubbed clean on your hands and knees, only this time, you're holding the deed in your hand. The same family who treated you like dirt, who whispered that you'd never amount to anything, now they're the ones begging at your feet. Hi, everyone. If you've ever been underestimated and dreamed of flipping the script, this is the story for you. Stick around, because my revenge, it was sweeter than anything money could buy. Hello, everyone. My name is Elena. I'm 28 years old, and I live in a bustling city in California. By day, I run a successful real estate firm that specializes in luxury properties. Ironic, right? But today, I want to share something deeply personal from my life. This isn't just some made-up tale. It's my real story, straight from the heart. Growing up, I faced humiliations that scarred me, but they also fueled the fire that turned me into who I am now. If you've ever felt belittled, overlooked, or like the world was stacked against you, I hope this resonates. Maybe it'll inspire you to chase your own justice. So, if you're ready for a roller coaster of emotions, from heartbreak to triumph, hit that like button right now, subscribe if you haven't already, and let's dive in. Trust me, by the end, you'll be cheering. Okay, let's go back to where it all started. I was born into a world that wasn't mine, or at least, that's how it felt. My mom, Rosa, was a single mother from a small town in Mexico who immigrated to the US when she was just 19. She worked her fingers to the bone as a maid for the Harrington family in one of those sprawling estates in Beverly Hills. You know the type, marble floors that echoed like a cathedral, crystal chandeliers that sparkled under lights I wasn't allowed to touch, and gardens that stretched out like a private park. The Harringtons were old money. Mr. Harrington ran a chain of high-end hotels. Mrs. Harrington hosted charity galas where she'd sip champagne and gossip about the less fortunate, and the two kids, Sophia and Blake, were spoiled rotten. Sophia was my age, about 10 when I first really remember things, and Blake was a couple years older. We lived in a tiny servants' quarters at the back of the property, a cramped two-room setup with peeling wallpaper and a bathroom that always smelled faintly of mildew. Mom would wake up at dawn, slipping into her uniform, that starched black dress with the white apron, and head into the main house to start her day. I'd tag along sometimes, especially on weekends when school was out. But as I got older, it wasn't just tagging along, it became expected. Elena, sweetie, help your mom set the table, Mrs. Harrington would say with that fake sweet smile, her voice dripping like honey over broken glass. What she really meant was, do the work we pay your mother pennies for. The kids were the worst. Sophia and Blake treated me like I was invisible, until they needed something. I'd be in the kitchen, wiping down counters that gleamed under the fluorescent lights, and Sophia would breeze in, her designer sneakers squeaking on the tile. Hey, helps kid, she'd say, not even looking up from her phone. Fetch me a soda. Her words hit like a slap, but I'd bite my tongue, feeling that hot flush creep up my neck, my hands clenching the rag until my knuckles turned white. Inside, my mind would scream, why me? What did I do to deserve this? But I'd smile politely, because Mom always said, Mija, we keep our heads down. This job puts food on our table. Blake was even crueler. He was the golden boy, tall, with that smug grin and perfectly gelled hair. One evening, I was in the study, dusting the bookshelves lined with leather-bound volumes I'd never be allowed to read. He sauntered in with his friends, laughing about some party. I tried to slip out quietly, but he blocked the door. "Look at her, guys," he sneered, his voice booming like he owned the room, which, I guess, he did. "The maid's daughter thinks she's smart. Saw her studying last night under that crappy lamp in their shack." His friends chuckled, and I felt my stomach twist, like someone had punched me right in the gut. My cheeks burned, tears pricking at my eyes, but I wouldn't let them fall. Not in front of him. "One day," I thought, staring at the floor, "you'll see. You'll all see." School was my escape, but even that came with strings. The Harringtons sent their kids to a private academy, all uniforms and ivy-covered walls. Me, public school, with leaky roofs and textbooks older than I was. But I studied like my life depended on it, because it did. After chores, I'd huddle in our tiny room, the single bulb flickering overhead, poring over math problems or history books borrowed from the library. Mom would bring me leftovers from the Harringtons' dinners, steak tips or fancy salads that tasted like cardboard in my mouth because I was too exhausted to enjoy them. "You're going to be something, Elena," she'd whisper, her calloused hands stroking my hair. "Don't let them dim your light." But the mocking didn't stop. It escalated. By the time I was 15, Sophia had turned into a full-blown mean girl. One afternoon, I was helping set up for one of Mrs. Harrington's garden parties. The air was thick with the scent of blooming roses and fresh-cut grass, laughter floating from the patio like distant music. Sophia cornered me by the pool house, her friends giggling behind her. "You know you'll never be more than this, right?" she said, her eyes narrowing like a cat toying with a mouse. "Servant's blood. It's in your veins." She flicked a crumb from her silk blouse onto the ground, expecting me to pick it up. My heart pounded in my ears, a roar that drowned out everything else. I wanted to scream back, to shove her into the pool and watch her perfect makeup run. But instead, I knelt down, picked up the crumb, and walked away, my fists balled so tight my nails dug into my palms. "They think I'm nothing," my mind raced. "But I'll show them, somehow." The injustice gnawed at me like a constant ache. Powerlessness settled in my chest, heavy and unrelenting, every time I saw Mom bow her head to Mrs. Harrington's complaints. "Rosa, this silver isn't polished enough." Or watched Blake toss his dirty laundry at her feet like she was a machine, not a person. Betrayal stung deepest because, in rare moments, they'd pretend to be kind. Mrs. Harrington once gave me a hand-me-down dress for my birthday, but it came with a backhanded comment. "It'll look better on you than on Sophia. She's outgrown that phase." Underestimation was their weapon. They laughed at my dreams, whispering that college was for real people, not the help. By 17, I hit my breaking point. It was a stormy night, rain lashing against the windows like angry fists. I'd just gotten my acceptance letter to a community college, full scholarship for my grades. Excited, I shared it with Mom in the kitchen while she prepped dinner. But Blake overheard, leaning against the doorway with that infuriating smirk. "College, for you," he scoffed, his laugh echoing off the granite counters. "Save your time, kid. You'll end up cleaning toilets like your mom." The words landed like a knife, twisting deep. Mom's face crumpled, but she said nothing. That night, alone in bed, sobs racking my body, I made a vow. No more. My hands trembled as I clutched the letter, the paper crinkling under my grip. I wouldn't just survive. I'd thrive. I'd make them regret every word. That's when the turning point came. I threw myself into my studies, working part-time jobs on the side, waitressing, tutoring, to save every penny. Community college led to a transfer to UCLA on another scholarship. I majored in business, minoring in real estate, because I saw how the Harringtons built their wealth on properties. Nights blurred into days. I'd study in coffee shops, the bitter taste of black coffee keeping me awake, my mind buzzing with plans. They think I'm weak, I'd think during lectures, scribbling notes furiously. But weakness is just strength in disguise. Fear crept in sometimes. What if I failed? What if they were right? But determination pushed it back, a fire in my belly that grew hotter with every memory of their sneers. Graduation came at 22, and I landed an internship at a top real estate firm. It was grunt work at first, filing papers, scheduling viewings, but I absorbed everything like a sponge. My boss noticed, promotions followed. By 25, I was closing multi-million-dollar deals, flipping properties in up-and-coming neighborhoods. I started my own firm at 26, focusing on luxury estates. Success tasted sweet, like the first bite of forbidden fruit, but it wasn't enough. I wanted justice. The planning began subtly. I kept tabs on the Harringtons through mutual contacts, discreet inquiries, nothing obvious. Turns out, their hotel chain was crumbling under bad investments and scandals. Mr. Harrington's health failed, debts piled up. Their mansion hit the market quietly, a fire sale to avoid bankruptcy. My heart raced when I saw the listing, those marble floors, that garden. This is it, I thought, palms sweating as I dialed my agent. Put in an offer. All cash, above asking. Execution was meticulous. I used a shell company to hide my identity. No need to tip 'em off early. The deal closed in weeks. Then, the invitation. I sent a formal letter requesting a final walkthrough, with the family present. Short sentences built the tension in my mind. They'll see. They'll know. No escape. The day arrived, crisp and sunny, the kind of California morning that mocks any inner turmoil. I pulled up in my sleek black Mercedes, the engine purring softly as I stepped out in a tailored suit, heels clicking on the driveway I'd once swept. My stomach churned, a mix of nerves and excitement, like butterflies with razor wings. The Harringtons were waiting on the grand porch. Mr. Harrington, frail in a wheelchair, Mrs. Harrington's face pinched with worry, Sophia and Blake flanking them like reluctant guards. I approached with a neutral smile, extending my hand. "Thank you for meeting me," I said calmly, my voice steady despite the pounding in my chest. Mrs. Harrington shook it weakly, her rings cold against my skin. "You're the buyer?" she asked, confusion flickering in her eyes. Blake narrowed his gaze, something like recognition dawning, but he shook it off. We toured the house, rooms I'd known intimately, now empty echoes. In the kitchen, where I'd scrubbed endless dishes, I paused. "This place holds memories," I said softly, tracing a finger along the counter. Sophia rolled her eyes. "Yeah, well, enjoy it. We don't need it anymore." Her tone was bitter, laced with that old superiority. Then, the reveal. In the study, surrounded by those empty bookshelves, I pulled out the deed. "Actually," I said, my words hanging in the air like a guillotine blade, "I think you might remember me." I met their eyes one by one. Mr. Harrington frowned. Mrs. Harrington gasped. Sophia's face drained of color. Blake's jaw dropped, his smug grin vanishing like smoke. It's Elena, I continued, my voice gaining strength, each syllable a release. Rosa's daughter, the helps kid you love to mock. The room fell silent, save for the tick of an old clock. Shock rippled across their faces, eyes widening, mouths agape. Blake stammered, you, but how? His hands trembled, fists unclenching as reality hit. Sophia turned red, anger flashing. This is a joke, right? You can't afford this. Oh, but I can, I replied, holding up the papers. And I did. All those nights you laughed at me studying. They paid off. Your empire crumbled. Mine rose from the ashes you tried to bury me in. Mrs. Harrington clutched her chest, humiliated, tears welling. We were kind to you, she whispered, but it rang hollow. Triumph surged through me, warm and electric, washing away years of pain. Relief flooded my veins, validation wrapped around me like a long-lost embrace. They begged, subtly at first, then desperately, for leniency, for time to move out. But I stood firm, my posture straight, no longer the girl who knelt. You taught me resilience, I said finally. Consider this my thank you. As I walked out, their pleas fading behind me, I felt free. Justice, at last. Looking back, this wasn't just about revenge. It was about reclaiming my power. Karma has a way of circling back, doesn't it? If there's a lesson here, it's that underestimation is a gift. It fuels the fire for those willing to burn brighter. I've forgiven, in my way, but I'll never forget. Life's too short to let others dim your shine. What about you? Have you turned pain into power? Phew, that was intense, right? If this story fired you up or gave you those satisfying chills, smash that like button and drop a comment below. What's the sweetest revenge you've ever seen or pulled off? Share your stories. I read every one. And if you want more real-life tales of triumph and justice, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. Thanks for watching. Until next time, remember, your comeback is coming.